Namaste. Welcome to Pranayama with Shiv. I've got a very, very special guest today. I'm here with Nipun Mehta. Nipunji, a very, very amazing character, as you guys will find out. So, Nipunji, I'd like to ask you a bit about your background because you come from like an IT kind of space, isn't it?
That's true. Yeah. First of all, it's a delight to be with you, Shiv
Thank
G.
you.
I'm gonna call you.
Thank you,
If you're making me a G, I'm gonna put you a G in there too. But maybe with just a capital G. Oh, G. Yeah, it's a delight to be here, and it's a delight to see you and the ways in which you've been spreading your gentle and kind radiance through this conference. I grew up in the Silicon Valley. Yeah, I was born in India, but then I grew up in the Silicon Valley in California, and I got out of college right when the dot-com boom was happening in the late '90s, and everybody was wanting to create more, be successful and have more money and have more power and then have more fame. And a part of me just didn't resonate with that. Part of me said that, yeah, I value the creativity, the enthusiasm, the curiosity, the sort of energy that was just there. I mean, it was like, this is pre-internet, or just internet just coming out. And there's like so much innovative energy there in the heart of the valley. I valued that, but then I saw that it was surrounded by this greed. And I said, that's just not my calling. And so I said, how do I use the good parts of it without like getting wrapped up in the sort of ego and greed? There was, I think there was this famous movie, Wall Street, I think, where the lead character says, greed is good.
Right, yeah.
And I think the hypothesis that I wanted to explore was that maybe greed is good, but generosity is better.
Yeah.
And how do we give legs to that? How do we give it meaning? How do we actually do that collectively in community? And so 4 of us, just as like a side project, 4 of us went to a homeless shelter and we said, we can't do what you do, which is help the homeless in remarkable ways. But can we help? Can we do something else? And we ended up building them a website. They didn't even know what a website was. Like at that point, they were giving us a screwdriver because they thought we had to put the website into the computer. Yeah. We're like, we're going to do it from home. And they were like, what kind of service is this? What kind of volunteerism? But it felt so good. It felt so good to give without any strings attached.
Yeah.
And so we came back and we said, hey, Shiv, you should try this. This giving thing, they tell you that like you first make all this money and then retire and then eventually think about giving. Or like, we found a loophole, you can give even now.
Okay. Yeah.
And so all our friends and like lots of people in the valley, it was 4 of us that went on that first project, but 4 became 40, became 400, became 4,000, became 40,000, became 400,000. And we were like, wow. Everybody's hungry to give in meaningful, cool ways.
Yeah.
And we then started doing so many things beyond just websites. We started running these web portals. At some point, we started doing all these offline projects. We even started running restaurants where people would walk in and their check would read 0. We called it Karma Kitchen.
Yeah.
And so you walk in, you have a meal, and your check at the end of the meal reads 0, not because this is free, but because someone before you paid for you and you are trusted to pay forward for people after you. And everyone is like, wait, I thought human beings are selfish, so they're just going to take.
Yeah.
And we were like, maybe human beings are not so bad after all,
Yeah.
and like that. So we just saw that. We saw that so much, everything we did, that people just are hungry to give. People are hungry to be related.
Yeah.
And it's not just related. It's like, and the AI world will push us into deeper questions around this. But it's like, if you and I are related in selfish pursuits, the depth of that connection is not that strong.
Yeah.
But if we are related in service to other people, the depth of that connection is incredibly strong. And even if I don't know anything about you and you don't know anything about me, it'd be like, oh, we served others together. And
Yeah.
when you do that, it's like, man, it's like some magnetic force that just kind of connects you. And we saw this repeatedly, again and again, across boundaries in different contexts with different projects. And we're like, why isn't the world catching on to this? You know, like
Yeah.
we're all after Facebook friends and we're all after Instagram followers and we're all after AI companions now. And you're like, well, you know, like there's a simpler and a deeper way to feel like we belong to each other.
Yeah.
Right? And it seems like the dominant paradigm is just kind of missing that plot. And so, it's been an amazing journey.
That's amazing. In your talk yesterday, I mean, you were saying also about when you and your wife were traveling through India, and there was something you said really touched me. You said that, the CNN won't tell about this, about the way people. Could you just mention that again about how people opened their heart to you? Because you did it without money, right?
Yeah. We did it with 50 cents a day, $1 a day. We were like, majority of the world is living on $1 a day, so we wanted to live like that. And you basically can't buy any food or shelter with that. So we were, we sold everything we had.
Yeah.
My wife and I, 6 months into our marriage, we dropped a few boxes at my parents' house, took a one-way ticket to India, went to the Gandhi ashram. Gandhi was a big inspiration for us. And we said we would walk south and we would eat whatever food was offered and sleep wherever place was offered, completely in the hands of strangers and really the kindness of strangers. And we didn't know how it was going to turn out. This is like summer of India, because it was not planned in the way that we thought. We just kind of went, and we didn't really say, oh, when will it be the coolest or temperature or whatever. We just kind of went. And as we did that, it ended up being the hottest parts of the year. And it was like crazy hot. Technically, if you or I go to India, you can't even drink water, and we had nothing. So we had a couple pairs of clothes and we're going from place to place. And it's one of those things where I would say, if you're hearing this, do not try at home. You have to be a little bit on the radical end of the spectrum to try it, but we did.
For sure.
And when you put yourself out so vulnerably, life responds.
Yeah.
And it teaches you through those responses. And what we saw day in and day out is that those who have the least genuinely give the most. Like, people would borrow food to feed us. Like, how do you even respond to that? You know, like, imagine if I'm going in debt to feed you and you're a stranger. I have no idea who you are and I'm never going to see you again. This is the only day you're coming in my life. So there's no strategic reason for me to be nice to you, right? It's not like, oh, maybe this guy will help me tomorrow or not.
Yeah.
You're just like, hey, my great-grandfather and my ancestors, they lived with this idea of Atithi Devo Bhava is what they call it in India. Atithi is guest. And guest is sort of English translation. Its literal translation is someone who comes unannounced. Tithi is date. Atithi is without date. So someone who comes unannounced is God. Right? So here we are coming unannounced, and we happen to be in their field of vision and field of love, I suppose. And they're like, guest is God. How do I serve God? And they go in and they borrow food to just feed us. And like, who do you have to be to even eat that, right?
Yeah.
And to do it day in and day out, and not to say everyone was hand to mouth like that every single day, but to get so many meals like that, I can never have a single meal without feeling a sense of gratitude for it. It's just impossible. You can't do that. And I learned so many lessons along the way from a lot of these folks.
Yeah.
There was a woman who gave us water, and later I learned she saw us in a distance, and we were like, how the heck are we going to get any water, for let alone food? We were like just struggling to just survive at the raw basic level. And we were like, oh God, we're sweating it up and there's no one in sight. It was a remote area. And this woman, this grandma, sees us from a distance. It's like, guys, come. And then we were like, okay, we go to her, and then she's like, you must be thirsty. And we were like, yeah, we're thirsty for sure. She says, let me give you water. And we later realized it took her 4 hours to go get that water.
No.
And she just gave it to us. And then we're talking, and then she looks at us and she says, you guys must be hungry. And, I didn't want to ask and all, but I was like, I was pretty darn hungry, And she says, I have something for you. She gives it to us. And we're feeling like such love from her. And all along, there's a guy, her husband, Grandpa, is there. Grandpa's like praying, and he's saying some prayers to Shiv, and saying every so often he was ignoring us, and every so often, not ignoring, but he was like, okay, sideshow. His show was like his prayers, and so every so often he would say something like Om Namah Shivaya, and then he'd go back into his prayers and stuff. And then as we're leaving, Grandpa looks at me and he's like, so what are you guys doing? I said, well, we're trying to renounce, in a way, renounce our sense of self through this pilgrimage so that we can arrive at a deeper sense of who we are. We are, trying to do small acts of kindness as we go, which we would do. We would carry haystack for older folks, or we would push the cart, or we would tell stories. There's 1,000 things you can do. And he says, and we're trying to just share what we are seeing with the world. And he says, oh, okay, that's good. Wasn't too impressed, but he was like, all right, that's interesting. And he says, where did you start from? And I said, all right, well, he says, where did you start your pilgrimage? And I said, well, we started at the Gandhi ashram. I didn't say Gandhi ashram. I said, we started from a city called Ahmedabad. So I said, we started in Ahmedabad. And he says, oh, I see, Mehmedabad, which starts with an M, not the same city. There's another city called Mehmedabad. So I said, no. I was like, no, Grandpa, not Mehmedabad, Ahmedabad.
Yeah.
I thought, okay, you didn't hear it. And he's like, yeah, that's what I said, Mehmedabad. I was like, okay, maybe Gramps is a little hard of hearing, So I was like, okay, Grandpa, dude, not Ahmedabad. I mean, not Mehmedabad, Ahmedabad, 127 kilometers from here. Kind of a thing to say to somebody, to let them know where it's from. And he looks at me and he says one sentence that like completely bowls me over. He says, oh, so I see that you're not on a pilgrimage after all. And I was like, what do you mean we're not on a pilgrimage just because we started in Ahmedabad? And he said, and so I looked very confused. I was like, what do you mean? And he says, you're still keeping track of the number of kilometers. Oh. I was like, oh my God, how did I know it was 127 kilometers? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
If I would have rounded down, about 100, a little over 100 miles, a little over 125, even 130, 127. Like, how did I know that?
Yeah.
So I dropped it all, but the spreadsheet in my mind was still going, still going. And so every day we were not just getting food, we were not just experiencing remarkable generosity, but we were also learning about ourselves. Through that very process. And you do that day in and day out. And it it was very, very deeply transformative in ways that you can describe in stories and words, but really it was like beyond.
Yeah. You mentioned as well different types of wealth, because we often think maybe it's just money, but like you mentioned yesterday, that they're showing there's a wealth of heart.
Huge,
isn't it?
Huge.
I mean, I think a lot of people can relate to this in modern society. It's like, I think probably loneliness is high. Disconnection is high, and maybe missing a bit of this heart energy. Like, what could you say to people? Like, how can they? I'm sure that people want to come alive in this. When I see you out and about with people, the way you are with everyone, always showering love on people, and people want to receive, and they also want to give this. Right? How do they start? Maybe they're a bit shy or something.
Yeah.
How do they get into this frame which feels very natural, you know, for human.
Yeah, it is very natural. I think kids are wired to be kind, and there's so much research that shows that, right? But I think we have to just understand this notion that there are multiple forms of wealth. That sometimes just listening to somebody is an act of love. And it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
It doesn't just need to be material. It doesn't just need to be something that you buy in the marketplace to give to somebody. It can be, doesn't have to be. And it also doesn't have to be like a showy, performative thing, extroverted thing. That, oh my God, you know, you could be like, look, I don't want to just engage with other people necessarily face to face. I'm maybe a bit of an introvert or an ambivert, or, you know, or maybe on that day, you're like, yeah, I'm not just going to go randomly and like sing a pop song in the middle of this town square to make people smile. I mean, that's one way to do it, but there's so many other ways to do it. So you could like just leave you know, say somebody makes you happy, leave a card for them, write something kind and say, this is, you know, like if I heard your workshop, and write out under your desk, like or under your chair, or if I know where you're staying on this campus, like just write a little note, you know, or even if you don't know me and so many people flock into you, I could just give it to you and I could just be like, you know, I really appreciated this. This is what I got. And it would mean the world to them, right? You could do that for a neighbor. Like one of my friends, his act would be to put a flower in, like, you know, either the mail, or if they get the newspaper, very few people get the newspaper, but he would do that back in the days, and he would just put a little flower inside and with a little note of appreciation.
Right.
Or you go on the transit, if you take the bus, you know, just have a box of chocolates for the bus driver, you know, and you'd be amazed, like people who do that, you ask them, how many times have people appreciated what you've done? And they'll be like, I've been doing this 35 years and not a single person has done that. All you had to do is take something and just go appreciate, you know. And then you can, bit by bit, you're like, oh, well, it's not really about me, whether I'm introvert or extrovert, or whether I want to show something or not. You just do it to create a ripple effect. So you could be at a coffee station and you could just be like, well, I think I'm just going to pay for the person behind me. So you leave an extra 10 there, right? If you can afford to do that. And you'd be amazed how far that kind of thing can go.
Yeah.
And not just for the person behind, but even the cashier will be totally like, whoa, who are you? Where did you show up from, right? And you'll have this giant smile. That person will have a giant smile. And it's just like changes the whole atmosphere, you know.
That's amazing.
And then you just start looking at the world in that way. So somebody dropped some flowers. And just today, this afternoon, we were outside and there was a stranger on the streets that just like, one of them had a stroller and the other one had a little, and they just dropped like a bouquet. You just go down and pick it up. And you're like, oh, you're just thinking of other people first. And when you do that, you actually are taking care of yourself, because you are sending a message to yourself that all these people are also me. They also matter. And when you do that, you distribute your load, because now it's not just my load on my shoulders. It's like, oh, all these people are also part of my sense of belonging. And so they also share my burdens and they also share my joys, and I get to share in their joys too. And it's just like a lighter way to operate in the world.
I love that. Yeah.
So it feels like, oh, I have to do an act and I got to do it. But it's just like, then it becomes a habit, bit by bit by bit. So I would say you should try it too. You should do a 21-day kindness challenge.
Yeah.
And then it just becomes a habit.
Okay. Yeah,
like,
cool.
You just say one small act every day. You wake up and you do it. And then research also shows that if you reflect on it.
I write it down and...
At the end of the day, like reflect on what that act of kindness was. It like, you know, it really reinforces that. And by the end of 21 days, it slowly starts to become a habit.
Love that. 21
day kindness challenge. So there it is for all of you.
And funnily enough, there's actually, I'm wearing this thing. I don't know if you can see this. There's a bit of a story behind this, isn't there?
Yeah.
This, do you mind telling what this is? This little heart. I got this beautiful little heart.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you don't mind to tell.
Yeah, absolutely. So my wife and I were in India, and we were working with the slum community, and at the end, when we were leaving, they said, "We want to give you something." And we said, "Oh, well, it's very kind of you." And they said, "We thought about what could we give to them, you know?" And we thought long and hard, and then we said we should give something to them that they could give away, because what they like to do is give things away, right? So they said, "What can we do?" So they hand stitched, because a lot of the women had like a lot of skills with their craftsmanship, and so they hand stitched this. Look at this. This is like a really cool little thing, right? It's just a heart. It's just a heart, but they hand stitched it and they stuffed it from waste cloth that they had found, and it was so powerful to receive that the first time. And then when I saw that, and when I would give it to people, I would say, well, this is not really it. They would say, thank you, like I'd be like, Shiv, this is yours, man, this is yours. And you'd be like, thank you.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, well, but I can't take credit for it because I'm just a messenger, It's actually from somebody before me whom you don't know, whom you will never know.
Yeah.
But I will hold it in my heart, And then I thought of this idea that, what if you wear it and somebody says, nice heart pin, and you pass it forward to them?
Yes.
Which then invites you to not just think of this as an object, but as a movement of love.
Love that. So, if anybody wants this, you send a message, and I'll post this anywhere in the world. I'll post this anywhere in the world. Okay, just you send a message saying "nice heart."
Yeah,
and we'll
there it is.
Anywhere in the world.
And you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna cheat, and I'm gonna post him because of that act right now. I didn't know he was gonna do this, but because of that act, I'm gonna post him a whole bunch so that he doesn't run out. So don't be shy. He'll post it to you, and I'll post it to him, and in this giant web of love, we are connected. We feel
be
like
part of this amazing thing.
Yeah.
Beautiful. I mean, I'm going to give you a bit of flattery. I mean, obviously, Nipun, you are a smart guy. You were even on. Weren't you with Obama or something like that? What's the story about that?
That's true.
You in the cabinet or something like that? Or?
Yeah, I was. He had an advisory council on poverty and inequality.
Oh my goodness,
And I got a chance to serve there. He actually was a big Gandhi fan.
Okay.
And so it was great to be on that panel.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Well, and because you're so smart, we gotta ask you then. A lot of people are worried about the AI thing. It's looking a little bit what's the word, dystopian.
Yes.
At the moment, we have these our phones in our pocket, and now we're giving us so much information. It's got such access to us on an individual level, like crazy amount, that I suppose we're just giving away to these companies, isn't it? We don't really know who's behind it.
Yeah.
And now it's seeming like more and more the AI is taking the place of our personal relationships as well.
Mm-hmm.
There was one famously, it's on the London Underground, New York, I believe, actually, New York subway, there's adverts. They've got this little pendant called Friend AI.
Okay.
Yes, that's always listening, and it's just like a friend.
Yeah.
So obviously there's a trend towards this thing. A lot of people are afraid about AI and the impact it's going to have on our lives. Can you talk a little bit about it? How do you see this whole situation? How do you think we can best navigate it? Because it's like we've kind of opened Pandora's box, haven't we?
Yeah.
You're not putting that back in the box.
You're not putting it back in the box.
So how do we navigate this in the most intelligent and heart way?
Yeah.
Heart-centered way.
Well, I think it's an important question. I don't know if I have an answer. I have some guesses, and I think I would say that I think we all ought to ask this question. Because the more of us that are thinking about it, the better the odds that collectively we hold it in something a lot deeper than we have in the past. So if you look at how fast this is coming, it's like TV took 68 years to get to 100 million users. Netflix took 10 years.
Yeah.
TikTok took 9 months. ChatGPT took 2 months.
Yeah.
So it takes us 68 years to figure out the right relationship to, say, TV, right? And now we have 2 months to figure that out, and we're just not going to figure that out that quickly. And what that's going to do is create lots of unintended consequences. That lots of things where, the creators of this technology, who are just kind of on this very short-term cycle because they have to profit, do the easiest path to create the most profitable scenario because that's what their investors want. And there's trillions now being pumped into this. And so you say, okay, they're on that track, but how will we avoid these unintended consequences? And for us as consumers, if you look at the data that we are inundated with, it's unfathomable. Like what we are assaulting our nervous system with right now is
Crazy.
It's crazy. So if you look at the raw numbers, 2003, from the beginning of time of recorded history to 2003, the amount of data we created in that whole time, we created just in 2003 alone. That same amount of data we created every 14 minutes last year.
Yeah.
And now we're going to create that in a snap of a finger, and it's all going to be synthetic data. It's not even stuff you see out, record, all of that. It's just going to be made up.
Yeah.
And you say, oh my gosh, and what does all of that mean if I'm blasting you with all that content? And so I think there's a lot of open question marks around where all this will go. There's a lot of positives. A lot of people will tell you that, even if you look at, there's a lot of data around this. Back in 1939, I think, we used to be able to do 0.6 calculations per day. 6 months ago, we were doing something like 500 billion calculations per day. Today, we're doing 1,500 billion calculations a day.
It's unfathomable.
Unfathomable. 1,500 billion not per day, per second.
Per second?
Per second. What was 0.6 calculations per day?
That's crazy.
Is now, and so you look at that and you say, we have so much data, so much computing power. It's all moving really fast. How will we create a moral backbone? How will we create scenarios in which AI is not just there for market efficiencies? Because that's if you're doing stuff in the market and instead of taking 3 steps, if AI can help you do it in 2 steps, that's a profitable thing. So we will take these efficiencies and double down on market solutions. But can we imagine that we can take all this power and creatively apply it to help us return back to each other? Right? That can it be a third force in between 2 dueling forces? It's sometimes hard to get out of a jam, and we have so many such jams right now as humanity. Having a third force can actually help, right? So if you think about it like a seed that goes, this is an idea from the Serbian mystic Gurdjieff. He says a seed in the ground has an affirming force, right? It wants to come out from the ground. And the ground has a denying force. It keeps it in the ground. But between the two, a third force is what allows the sprout to happen. So in between all these tensions and polarities and lack of belonging and a whole lot of things that are not creating flourishing societies today, can AI be a force that actually brings us together and allows for a sense of flourishing that we can only create as a unified whole, that we couldn't create as separate parts, but we can create as a unified whole? So what would it mean? I think a simple way in which I hold this is that you have a microscope that allows you to see at the cellular level. You couldn't see it with your naked eye, right? And a microscope helps you. It's a tool to do that. Similarly, you look at a telescope and it helps you see the stars and be in integrity with the larger arcs of the seasons, right? You wouldn't be able to do that with the naked eye. So these tools can help you do that. Can AI be an inner scope that helps me see myself? And in seeing myself, can it then help me be an interscope between you and I? Can it help bridge these gaps that we have created, which are not helpful for you nor me? I think that's one possibility. But I'm afraid that the dominant paradigm, right, the Zuckerbergs of the world, are seeing a different vision.
Yeah.
I showed a screenshot yesterday of Zuckerberg in the Wall Street Journal saying that, look, my $1 trillion vision is that everyone will have more AI friends.
Yeah.
And his whole point was that human beings need 15 friends to be resilient. And that's true. Science tells us that. Everyone agrees with that. Okay, fine. And he says right now we have 3 friends per person on average. And it's not enough. There's a huge gap. As a result, we're completely fragile as societies in so many ways, personally, interpersonally, collectively, planetarily, even you can say there's a ripple effect from this. And so you say, how will we bridge that gap? And he is saying, I've got a solution. Forget about human beings, forget about interchange, just adopt AI as your companions. And a lot of people are. There's new research that just came out a couple of days ago. 72% of teens in America have had an experience with an AI companion. And 1/3 of them said it was better than a human being. So just as social media cheapened our idea of what friendship is, right? Like AI is going to hijack our sense of intimacy. And can we take a U-turn, or maybe even that's too bold an idea? Can we augment this market-driven solution of like, hey, I'm going to replace Shiv and Nipun with like AI companions, right? Or whatever. Fine. But can we augment that idea to say, look, I also want to use AI for bringing people together? And when we come together, it's not just that Shiv and Nipun are coming together. It's that when Shiv and Nipun come together, a new possibility emerges. That when I come together with you, not just as like, I need you, you need me, but it's like, I am giving to you. We are serving others together. I give you a heart pin. Now, I give you a heart pin because of that. You're able to share it with a friend, and you said, look, if you care for it, I'll post it to you. That's like a new possibility that wouldn't have happened if we didn't connect, right? In some way, in some deep way. And so how do we start to do that at a large scale? How do we imagine AI to return us back to not just be better consumers in the market, right? But to return us back to a greater sense of social kinship. And through social kinship, a deeper sense of new possibilities that arise through that love. And I think that's something that I think of as social permaculture. That how do we start to do that kind of permaculture in society? I think it's missing, and I think we can do it. Will we do it? I don't know. But we've got a bunch of experiments. So if you go to awaken.ai, you can check it out. There's like a whole bunch of, one of the first things we did was we created these bots. We created a compassion bot. We created a Gandhi bot. We created an interfaith bot where we put like scriptures of 1,700 of the world's religions.
Oh, wow.
And if you were to ask what is a faith-based response to climate change, if you Google it, Google now has AI mode, but let's say it did in the earlier days. If you Google it, it would take you a long time to research that. Now it'll just tell you, this is what the Guru Granth Sahib says, this is what the Talmud says, this is what, all the different, you can go down the list. And so I think and we're now working with different agents and trying to do, different things around social permaculture. But I think we need a lot more experiments in that direction, where the good of this actually is not just for market gains. It's actually for civic gains. It's for societal good. It's for rebuilding the commons. It's for deepening the kinship. And I think it's just people need to come alive in that way. So will we get there? Will we not? I don't know. But I'm gonna try, and I hope you do too.
Yeah. And I hope people watching this, all of us, we start to think with our heart a little bit of how we can be a part of something like that.
Yeah. I think it starts with a small act of kindness.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's just a way to connect the most mundane with the cosmic.
Right.
Right? Like, it's just do a small act with great love, as Mother Teresa might say, and just know that you're dropping that pebble in this incredible lake that is vastly interconnected, that it actually ripples out. And if you were to drop a pebble of love, its half-life is so much vaster than a pebble of selfishness.
Oh, do you remember this equation that you did yesterday?
Which one?
It was impact equals.
Oh, yeah.
Is it action over ego?
Yes. It was Gandhi's successor, Vinoba, in India. He walked village to village and he did some remarkable things. And he had this quote. He says, "The impact of your impact of your being on this planet is actually actions divided by ego. So if I do 10 things with a giant ego, with one ego, 10 divided by 1 is 10. If I do 10 things with very little ego, let's say 0.1, 10 divided by 0.1 is 100. Same actions, but less of me. Because then our interconnected web starts to support it. And then, like, if you take it to the nth, you're like 10 divided by 0. I mean, not to say that, I don't know how anyone could be 0, but let's say, there's some awakened souls that are like completely instruments of nature kind of thing. If you're 10 by 0 is infinity.
Yeah, even 1 by 0.
1 by 0. So even the smallest act of kindness can actually change the world, because it's not the size of the act, it's the emptiness of the ego that allows that to be carried by the ocean of our interconnectedness.
Yeah. Wow. So inspiring. I think we'll end it there. I know you got so many things to do. So just thank you so much. It's been really, really a huge honor for me. Huge pleasure. And I'm sure everyone's watching feeling very inspired after that.
I'm delighted that young hearts like yours are holding these deeper questions, and just like you shared so deeply here as well in Mallorca. I hope you continue to do that, and I hope all of us stay connected in the spirit of these heart pins.
Brilliant. Okay, thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Take care.